You ever get that feeling that the more connected we are online, the more, I don't know, disconnected we feel in real life? Today, we're going to dig into that really complicated relationship between our digital lives and that very human feeling of shyness. So, let's get right into it. And that's the big question, right? In our always-on, notification buzzing world, could the very device that's supposed to connect us all actually be making us more hesitant to, connect in person? We're going to unpack that. Okay, so first things first, let's make sure we're on the same page. According to the American Psychological Association, shyness isn't just about being quiet or introverted. It's a reluctance to engage with people because you're afraid of what might happen, judgment, rejection, that kind of thing. That phrase right there, fear of social consequences, that's the key. Remember that. So, where does social media fit into this whole fear thing? Well, our first big idea is what some people call the performance trap. It's this theory that social media has basically turned our day-to-day chats into these high-stakes public performances. I mean, just think about it. Communication used to be mostly face-to-face, right? You could read body language, you could pick up on subtle cues. Now we're broadcasting to a massive audience. Every post, every story, it's not just a message anymore. It's a performance designed to get likes, shares, and comments. The source material really just nails it with this quote. Everybody becomes an entertainer. Suddenly, it's not enough to just communicate an idea. You have to be witty, you have to be charismatic, you have to perform for this invisible crowd. And man, that is a ton of pressure for a lot of us. And all that pressure, it kind of forces us to create this split between who we really are and our online persona, When you're behind a screen, it's just way easier to be a little harsher, to forget there's a real human being on the other side, because the consequences just feel so far away. And this is where things can get pretty ugly. The very same environment that rewards that perfect performance can also be the perfect breeding ground for cyberbullying, public shaming, and of course, cancel culture, where one slip-up can go viral and follow you around forever. And look, this is not some small, fringe problem. Get this, a recent study found that 41% of adults in the US have personally experienced some kind of online harassment. 41%. That's nearly half the adult population facing real negative social blowback just for existing online. So when the stakes are that high, when one wrong comment can lead to a massive pile-on, it makes total sense that some people just decide to retreat. They pull back. They stop sharing their real opinions. And what's that? Well, in other words, they become shy. But that's only one side of the coin. It's not all doom and gloom. For a lot of people, social media isn't a performance trap at all. It's the exact opposite. It's the lifeline. It can be an incredibly powerful tool to fight off loneliness. Let me share this one personal story from our research because I think it captures this perfectly. It's about someone who described themselves as extremely shy. The kind of shy where you wouldn't even talk to the person sitting right next to you. Okay, so then this person moves to a whole new country, and that shyness, mixed with a big dose of culture shock, led to this really deep, overwhelming feeling of isolation. I think we can all imagine how tough that would be. But here's the turning point. Feeling pretty lonely, they start posting a few photos of their new city on Instagram. And through that, an old classmate from back home sees the pictures and reaches out. And it turns out that classmate was also feeling pretty isolated in a new place. And that one little connection, that DM on Instagram, it grew into a real friendship. It didn't just help them feel less alone, it actually gave them the confidence they needed to start putting themselves out there and connecting with people in their new community, in the real world. So what gives then? How can social media be both the villain and the hero of this story? Well, the answer isn't really about the technology itself. It's all about how we choose to use it. It really boils down to being an active user versus a passive one. We've all been in passive mode, right? That's the mindless, endless scrolling, comparing our normal, everyday lives to someone else's curated highlight reel. Just consuming. Active use, though, is the total opposite. That's when you're directly engaging, you're finding groups with similar interests, you're building real connections, and you're actually practicing your social skills. And that passive use, it can trap you in a really nasty feedback loop. You compare your life to someone else's, you start to feel kind of insignificant, so you withdraw a little, which just fuels more anxiety and shyness. It's a total downward spiral. But active use, it completely flips the script. It creates a positive loop.
Having those low-stakes chats online with people who get your hobbies, it helps you build up your social muscles. And that confidence you build online, it starts to translate into your offline life, helping you break out of that shell.
Which really brings us to the most important point of all. This whole story about social media and shyness, it isn't really about the tech. It's about us. It's about the choices we make every single time we unlock our phones. So, what's the bottom line here? Look, social media doesn't create shyness, but it sure can act like a giant amplifier for it. Whether its effect on you is good or bad, well, that really depends on your mindset. Skills like critical thinking, being able to see past that perfect online facade are absolutely crucial. And ultimately, the choice between being an active or a passive user, that's entirely in our hands. At the end of the day, technology is just a tool. It can be a stage for a performance where we're terrified of messing up, or it can be a bridge that leads to genuine connection. As more and more of our lives play out online, the real challenge isn't mastering the algorithm, it's mastering ourselves. So the real question is, how will we choose to connect?